comes in, I see him in here.
Yeah,
my
I need to
gosh.
have my eyes open. So if there is a murderer, I'll
A
just.
murderer. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. Wow.
We should hide the knives anyway. Just.
Hide the
I know we're
knives.
gonna.
Okay. I don't know what they're talking about. Don't go.
Muting. Love you guys.
Love you too.
All right,
Hey.
so I'm trying to think. Oh, those are bags of apples. I'm looking at those things. Jimmy just bought me bags of apples back there.
Oh,
Yeah, I go through a lot of apples. He's like, I bought you pink lady apples. Those are good? I'm like, yeah, those are good. Okay.
yeah, they are.
I told him the other day, I said, the only thing with an apple, if it's not, you always have to be careful of apple season, but if it's not a crisp apple, I said, if you ever see a wrinkle on an apple, if you grab it and it's not exactly firm, because I will not eat even a
Me
semi
either.
non-crisp apple. It has to be the crisp apple. I cannot do with anything. It just makes me sick, especially if
Oh,
they're like soft or they're meal. I'm just okay.
mealy.
Mealy,
Yeah, get it.
caca. Okay. Now let's
right.
see. So today we heard a lot of phone calls from Al and Letecia, and Al was working with this Commander Grusing, I think he was Commander Grusing. Excuse me if I don't have his title right. And he was a profiler, and he knew like how to get to Letecia because she was telling them things, and he was conversing back and forth with Al, and Al's had experience in the military like this, and it's amazing, I said, how he was able to keep his cool with her because at that time he basically knew his child was dead, his only son gone, and didn't know where his son's body was, didn't know what happened to him except that there was an amount of blood that was not compatible with life of Gannon's, and yet he would talk to her and listen to her lie and change her story and lie. And I don't know how at some points, I guess Landon had heard all of these conversations, because if they were ever hearing some of this for the first time, I don't know how they could have composed themselves, like just not to lunge at her. Just they would probably have to take me away, but I at least smacked the crap out of her a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how you would be there with someone that especially your son is 1 pound 6 ounces and makes
Yeah,
it through all that, and then you just have this person that kills him but is still lying about it. Won't even and it's just disgusting. Didn't give them his body that they could have put him to rest, made them just sit around. It's horrific. So I don't know. It's horrible. But they had to sit through that, and we heard almost all the calls except I think there's a 28 or 39-minute call left that they're going to do on Friday morning, and then they're going to go to a 5-hour interview, which I didn't even know she had this. This guy did a 5-hour interview with Letecia. So I don't know where he did it. I don't know if it was on the phone. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard that he said. I'll listen again, but that's got to be pretty amazing because this guy, I just want to go through a little bit of what he said because he was really good about like why they were doing the things. And then the woman that was on, the one that was with Amber, she was Amber, with the calls, said that exactly like that thing about with, I always say with Chris Watts, because he was just crazy. He told you everything he did, telling you everything he didn't do. I didn't kill anyone with my hands. He killed them all with his hands. I didn't hurt my wife. I didn't hurt my kids. I didn't take them out of the house. I didn't, everything he didn't do, he did. And she said everything Letecia said that she did to someone else or wanted to do to someone else is what she did to Gannon. And that's like when she said she was going to take a knife to Quincy Jones, But she also, I believe, said she would take a knife to Veronica. She was very upset with something Veronica, who's Landon's aunt, did, she said, to Harley. And I think she said if I had a knife, I would cut her or something. And but then they said that was Quincy Jones, so whoever she said it about. But then when she said she got the gun, she said, what do you want me to do? You get a gun and I'm going to go down there and light his arse up, right? That's what she did. She said when Gannon was screaming and I was screaming, that was really happening, okay? Certain things she said were the truth. It just wasn't the truth that she wanted everyone to believe. And I'm totally in the wrong live here. So I know, I'm like, why isn't the chat moving? Okay.
Oops.
So, yeah. So, you could really, the interview should be interesting. Yeah, with the profiler, right? And that's what he said, Barb. Didn't he say that he has a 5-hour interview with that guy? I believe so. What else was I going to say? That was very telling. Just like her story kept changing with Al, then, the bike thing wasn't true. And now she's saying that he just wasn't there when we never heard this story, okay? That she got home and she wasn't paying attention and she's so sorry. And she feels like one of those parents that forgets their kids in the car. But when she got home and she looked behind her, he wasn't there. And she doesn't know where he is, and she doesn't know who has him, and she's just really broken up. And isn't she beating herself every day about it? And then I think Al was implicating Harley for a reason. I think he thought if she thinks that they think Harley did this, and she has information that Harley didn't, meaning that she was going to accept some of the blame, that she would jump up to protect her daughter from being brought into this, because it seemed like she wanted to protect her daughter from them even asking for the keys. But I was wondering, because she didn't react to that the way I thought. Because I thought she would be like, how could you even think Harley would do such a thing as this? That's disgusting. And you wanted to adopt her and you think she could have killed your kid? That's what I expected from her. But she didn't. She didn't. She just said, Harley was at work. So now you want to implicate somebody that was at work? But she wasn't upset or screaming or anything, acting any way that I would expect her. And he did throw it back to her again, and I really think it was because he thought either she would do the interviews or whatever it is to get them off of Harley and not bother her with anything or make her a wreck, that she would say, okay, I'm going to tell you the truth now. This is it. I did it. That's what I thought they were going for that for. And she keeps saying picture perfect. I didn't realize they had just got both of those dogs in December. And, he's like, everybody was so happy. Well, how do we go back to that? And she's like, well, don't you want that picture perfect family? How does she think she can go back to that?
Yeah.
And like the woman said, the stuff we're driving around, what do I do? Al's going to kill me. Everybody's going to kill me. That was all true about like how she killed Gannon. But let's see what that guy said. It's just so crazy. I just want to listen to the very beginning of that profiler, because I think it's important. I'm not going to go through his credentials, but just the part. Did everybody see everything in the trial today? Did you guys all catch up with everything that you missed, if you missed it? There's no trial tomorrow. And then Friday, I just can't believe, I don't know how this is going to go in like another 3 to 5 weeks. It's pretty incredible that it's going to go that long.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's see. Okay. I got the, oh, that's for Friday. I always could do that. I always do the wrong thing there. Day 9, day 10, day 11. Yes. Okay. Let me get this. All right. Let's see. Get rid of this. And go to. I just want to hear what he says about. Let's see what she says, if I can get it to the part where she says what she didn't do. I think she. Oh, and Letecia's hair. I hope everybody was enjoying that today.
Boy.
That was quite the
Right.
fun. Her hair. She came in with a braid. I thought she had to have the braid. But
All right, Todd, go ahead and bring him in, please.
all right, let's go a little further.
There was mention of Michelle and Monument. Was there any Michelle that became of interest in this case, or any real person by the
Okay, that was the Michelle that she said sold cleaning supplies, that she was living above her, like it was so detailed. She was living above her apartment. She has dogs. That's why you're hearing dogs bark. Meanwhile, she's in South Carolina. So they asked this woman, did this Michelle ever exist? And she says, no, this Michelle never existed.
name of Michelle and Monument that was associated with this defendant?
No.
In that particular call, does she basically describe what happened to Gannon, but cloaked in all kinds of misdirection?
Yes, she had mentioned, she was using it in the term of saying what she would do to Quincy Brown by saying she was thinking about getting a gun and shooting him or having a knife. And then when she says after the incident, she was driving around thinking, oh my God, Al's gonna kill me.
So when you talk about the gun part, the quote, take a gun downstairs and light his butt up, she used a different word. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Do you know that there, or was there evidence that Gannon was actually shot in the basement?
yes,
Do you remember when she described all she could hear is Gannon screaming?
yes,
And then the next thing she remembers, according to her quote, is Gannon was gone.
yes.
Were you aware at that particular time where Gannon's, whether he was alive or dead, first of all,
At the particular time,
of this call?
he was deceased at that point.
But at that time, his body had not been recovered yet, correct? So when you say that he was deceased at the time, when we go back to that actual call, had his body been recovered yet?
No,
Okay. Was that part of the reason for doing these calls, was to gain evidence that would potentially lead to Gannon's location and discovery?
yes,
You mentioned at the very beginning of your testimony yesterday your experience, and you mentioned that you work with Fremont Correctional.
I work with the Bureau of Prisons, so it's
Yep,
the
that's
federal
what I said.
system.
That, I said it wrong. The Federal Bureau of Prisons. Do you have occasion to interact with people that are dealing with mental health issues?
Yes, there's some inmates that have mental health issues.
Have you had experience dealing with people that have severe mental health issues?
Yes.
What does that look like from your perspective?
It's different. They may not have logical reasons for what they do.
Did this particular defendant appear to have logical reasons for doing what she was doing during the pendency of this investigation?
Yes.
In your observations of her, did you ever hear her say anything about having severe mental health disorders,
No.
diseases?
No.
Did she have consistent personality traits throughout the time that you were able to observe her?
Yes.
Look at her attorney laughing and joking around with her. Slapped her on the back just a minute ago.
During your observation periods with her through these phone calls, you mentioned also going to South Carolina for her arrest. Did you have personal contact with her there?
No.
Okay. Did you see her though?
I did see her.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you ever have occasion to hear her refer to herself by the name Taylor?
No.
Did you ever hear her refer to herself by the name Maria Sanchez?
No.
What about Jasmine?
No.
What about Harmony?
No.
Christina?
No.
Little Lucia?
No.
Mo with the gimpy leg?
She ever talk with a Spanish accent?
No.
What was, based on the time that you were with, not necessarily with her, but able to observe her, what is your opinion as to her sanity?
Well, I'm not gonna allow it from this witness unless you can lay more foundation that she has personal interaction with the defendant. My understanding is that most of it was observed through a phone call, and she's not had personal contact with the defendant.
Well, I think that would be the basis of it, Judge. She was present for every single one of these individual phone calls, which is, I think, 16 total phone calls, some over an hour long. And then also observing her in South Carolina.
I just don't think there's enough foundation laid for that. I'm not gonna allow it from this witness.
Okay. All right.
And
That's
the other foundational questions, but I won't.
Well, I've already asked those. Yep. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Cook, cross-examination.
Just a few.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good, sir.
Should I refer to you as special agent? Is that
That,
your working title?
yes, sir.
Okay. How long did you get to view Miss Stout when you were in South Carolina, special agent?
With her, I wasn't personally interacting with her. I just saw her after the interview that Mr. Grusing had with her.
So just like walking down the hallway?
Yes,
and
sir.
Just for a few minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were with Gannon's father in the room during these phone calls?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Allen had stated earlier you were sliding him notes back and forth about what to say.
Periodically, he did the majority of the phone calls and he would have the conversations with her. It's just periodically, if there was something we wanted to know, we would give him a note and ask him.
Did what you were looking for as far as answers go change from the first phone call you recorded to the last one? Is the investigation involved, I guess, so to speak?
Our point was to try to find what happened to Gannon and get the straight story from her because it did keep changing.
Okay. When did the warrant for the defendant's arrest go out?
I couldn't probably tell you the exact day
Okay.
as to when that happened.
How long after the warrant for the defendant's arrest went out was it before she was apprehended and actually taken into custody?
Probably within the week, if I would imagine. But that's just a guess. I really can't recall. We got the warrant, and then a team of us had to travel to South Carolina to arrest her out there.
By plane or car?
We flew by plane.
If you had a defendant on all these phone calls by, I guess some of the phone calls we've heard were, I keep pointing there because that's, I'm used to looking at, but my speaker is, but if you had these phone calls from February 15th, 16th, 17th, mid-February 2020, you've got a defendant who's telling a lot of different stories, admitting that she knew there was Gannon's blood, admitting that something happened and Gannon was possibly dead. Why not make an arrest then, mid-February?
It's not really our decision. It would be the decision of the district attorney to determine when we have enough to get an arrest warrant.
Okay, so that was the call of the DA?
Mhm.
Okay. Just a second. Your Honor,
All right.
I don't have anything else. Thank you, Special
Mr. Allen?
Do you remember if the arrest warrant was issued on February 28th, 2020 at 1:26 p.m.?
I don't remember the exact date, so I can't confirm that.
Okay. What day did you travel to South Carolina to effectuate that arrest?
Again, I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact date as to when we did.
Okay, was it early March?
Yes,
Which would be very close in time to February 28th, if the arrest warrant was issued that date?
yes, sir, it would be.
Okay. We've already gone over this with another witness, but from your perspective, what do you have to have before you can determine that somebody's able to be arrested?
Well, we'd have to have probable cause that the person has been murdered, so without Gannon's body being found, we don't know that he actually was murdered at that time.
The lack of a body, can that cause difficulties in both the investigation and then ultimately the prosecution effort?
Yes, because if he'd actually been kidnapped, we wouldn't have a homicide investigation, obviously.
Have you been involved with other no-body homicide investigations?
Yes,
Are there inherent difficulties present because there's no body?
yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Special Agent Cronin? No? All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Okay.
Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
This
We
is
call Johnny Grusing.
Johnny Grusing. This is the guy that interviewed her for 5 hours in South Carolina. I guess, is it after the arrest?
Grusing, sorry.
I wonder when it
Grusing.
was.
Mr. Grusing, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good afternoon, sir. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your name for the record?
My name is Jonathan Grusing. Last name is Grusing.
Mr. Grusing, what do you do currently for work?
I am Director of Safety and Security for Douglas County School District.
How long have you been doing that?
Not quite 2 years.
What did you do before that?
I was a special agent with the FBI in Denver.
How long had you been with the FBI?
Almost 25 years.
What kind of training and education did you have that allowed you to do that job?
I got an undergraduate degree in management, Texas Tech University, got a master's degree there as well in business. I worked in Dallas for 4 years while I was basically biding time to try to get into the FBI.
What kind of experience or positions, I should say, or roles did you play with the FBI?
So I was a special agent the entire 25 years from a
I think you got, Barb says, why did I think she was arrested in Rhode Island? Probably because they talked about the van being found in Rhode Island, but we don't know who brought the van up there, but just that that van ended up in Rhode Island.
My first 2 years I worked terrorism matters, and for my last 23 I was primarily violent crime matters.
What kind of cases did you work on as far as violent crime investigations?
Up until 2006 I primarily worked kidnappings, fugitives, bank robbers, some federal jurisdiction crimes, like if there was a homicide in the prison. It was mainly that until 2006. And in that year, I was assigned a serial killer case. It was an informant of ours who the FBI did not know he was going around killing people and enjoying it. And I spent 15 years working that case. And that got me working closely with the profiling unit, which is called the behavior analysis unit. I worked with them from 2006 until my retirement.
What is the behavioral analysis unit?
It is a unit of supervisors with the FBI. They've also now incorporated homicide detectives, other federal agencies like ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. And they are basically a consult of experts in different categories. Like we'll have cybercrime is a new one, terrorism or threats, crimes against children, and crimes against adults.
How is, I guess, either that discipline or that unit, how is it used in criminal investigations?
So for my serial killer case, since I had never worked anything like that before, they consulted with me of how to approach someone like that, how someone like that functions, and how we might be able to find his victims, because we just had missing people at that time. So they taught me how behavior works. I went to a lot of their in-services. I eventually became the coordinator for Colorado as an arm for the behavior analysis unit to both assist local agencies in some profiling type matters, but also to hook up local departments with the profiling unit. So I was basically an extension of them to Colorado. And following that case in 2006, I kept getting assigned other cases where I could utilize the profiling unit on whether it's missing children, missing adults, strange homicides, serial rapists, those sorts of things.
I guess, how do you use that behavior patterns, or however you want to use the term, in trying to determine or help you as you're interviewing people?
So, in attending a lot of their in-services, but even more so in working with people who did awful things, took other people's lives, the profiling unit had taught us that people follow a certain pattern of behavior. And knowing that pattern assists us in how to approach them and possibly get them to talk to us. It's not an accusatory manner. It's more of a manner on where we try to think like the offender, someone who's done an awful thing, and try to help that person wrestle with what they've done, and even almost explain to them what they've done and assist them in moving forward. So it's looking at the crime as best we can from the offender's viewpoint and trying to understand that person.
Okay, so that'll be interesting to take that into the interview that he does with her on that he's done with her, that we'll see, or hopefully we'll see on here on Friday, to know that what he's doing is he's trying to first not be accusatory at her, like, that's not going to work, but then I think just look at her patterns of what she does and almost try to sympathize with her on what she did, and be very empathetic probably towards her. So sometimes when you think, oh, how could this person be so nice, or how come this person is saying, like, oh, he understands what she did, it's all so he can find out what she did to get her to feel comfortable.
Does thinking like the offender work in a generalized sense, or is it better to know something about the investigation itself and things that person may have been doing or saying while the investigation is unfolding?
Yeah, it requires a lot of homework. That's what they taught me, because when we would send a case to the profiling unit, they would digest it completely. It's not some magic formula where they know how people think. They would read the entire case reports, they would ask a lot of questions of the investigator, and then they would just give the investigator some thoughts on how they might move forward. It's not, they would never dictate, this is what you should do. They would say, here are some considerations you might have in dealing with a person like you're dealing with today. The transition for me out of the FBI and really towards the school district was in 2013. This was after the Sandy Hook attack on the first graders. I started getting yearly training, and it was more in depth on pathways of violence. Because we as the FBI were trying to prevent school attacks in particular. So every year we would do more in-depth study on behavior patterns, and we as people, how we go down a pathway of violence before we do something. And so that got me talking to a lot of school districts for the next 8 years or so, which eventually led to the job that I'm doing today.
So when you're talking about pattern of behavior, you're not talking, then it doesn't sound like a generalized pattern of behavior. This would be a very specific pattern of behavior for a specific person in case.
Yes, they call it the pathway of violence, and both the FBI and the Secret Service have studied that for years and years.
What do you mean when you say that phrase, pathway of violence?
It means that we as human beings exhibit almost predictors before we do something we're going to regret later. It starts with a grievance. A grievance means something that you perceive is done wrong to you. And so then you have to wrestle with how you're going to deal with that. And you have an idea of how to deal with it. And that sometimes for us is not a healthy idea. If we have stabilizers in our life, we'll go back and figure out a better way to deal with things. From there, we go to planning. And that's if you're going down an unhealthy or a violent pathway, you'll start planning what you're going to do. You take steps of preparation. Then you do what's called a breach. A breach is that you enter into almost a point of no turning back, and then you do an attack. And we studied that for years and years to try to prevent school attacks. And that's what I still do today with the school district. If we see a student or even an adult struggling with that pathway of violence, we try to find out what that grievance is and if they're on a pathway to harm themselves or other people.
So in your experience, have you actually seen this pathway of violence go all the way through that pathway where it does lead to some violent act?
Absolutely.
How did you get involved in the investigation of Gannon Stauch's disappearance?
I had been assisting the Colorado Springs FBI resident agency. It's a smaller satellite down here I was stationed up in Denver on numerous cases if they involved missing adults, missing children, just to come in and assist them with whatever help I could give from the profiling unit. And the supervisor, John Cronin, had asked me to come assist with the Gannon Stauch case.
What was your role in the investigation?
I didn't come in till about a little over 2 weeks later, and the investigators, both FBI and El Paso sheriffs, just asked me to listen to one of Letecia's phone calls to, I believe it was Al, and see if I can assist, because they had no idea where Gannon was, and to see what we could do as far as where do we go from here, because they believed that she was misdirecting the authorities and wasn't assisting in the investigation. So after listening to the phone call, I spoke with Al, the dad, and with the investigative team and said, I do believe if we don't accuse Letecia of killing Gannon, that she would continue to talk with us and maybe give us clues to what happened to him.
So did that become a strategy for you as you proceeded to help out with this investigation to not accuse her directly?
Yes.
Why did you believe that if you avoided making an accusation that she would continue to speak?
She had already shown a propensity to change her story to fit the facts of the case. And I had seen that in prior offenders as well. And I figured that if we could just keep
Approach.
Just a second. I thought, yes, you may.
Okay, so this pathway of violence that he studies, he said, it starts with the idea, planning, preparation, and then implementation. And a lot of it is studied
If you want it.
in the school shootings. So that's interesting. I'd like to look at some more of this here about this pathway to violence. There's no single pathway to violence. So the process is unique to each person. So he's got to see what their pathway is. However, there are some common elements in the experiences of most people who have carried out violent acts, regardless of their beliefs or motivations. These elements include significant behavioral changes in major areas of a person's life, including ideology, social relations, and criminal activity. If someone is viewing violence as an option, changes can often occur in all three of these areas. A person's behavior must also become more intense and extreme over time. When compared with that person's previous or normal behavior, the circumstances and environment should also be taken into account. If there is a valid alternative explanation for the changes in behavior, these changes should not be considered a sign of someone planning violence. So if there's a valid, reason for the change of behavior, so maybe something horrific happened to them, they lost a family member, they were attacked somehow, then their changes are due to something like that, and not because they're planning violence. If a person comes to a point of promoting, threatening, or using violence for any particular cause, the wider community has a responsibility to act.
So, Mr. Grusing, so we were talking about that pathway of violence and how you used your experience to guide your strategy with this particular case. What about this jury's heard a bunch of phone calls already, heard testimony that you were involved with both the planning and carrying out of these consensually recorded phone calls. Was it also part of your strategy to get her to just keep talking because she would give information sort of on the margins?
Yes, she was the last person to be with Gannon, and she was our best source of information. But we being the FBI, had different teams looking at computers, phones, cars, her travel. But our best source to find out what happened to Gannon was to maintain communication with Letecia, and that was my goal, was just to have Al keep talking with her so we could find out what happened to him.
On all of these recorded consensual phone calls that involve Mr. Stauch and the defendant, is it fairly consistent that the defendant would show more concern for herself than helping find Gannon, or what might even have happened to Gannon?
Yes, it was.
Was the defendant at the center of her own universe in that regard?
She was.
Did you have, prior to the phone calls, had you ever had any interaction with her before?
No,
During the phone calls, did you have any chance to see her?
no,
Did you eventually have a chance to see her?
I did.
What was that?
It was once an arrest warrant was drafted, and we being an investigative team with El Paso County Sheriff's Office and FBI on March 2nd, arrested her, and I spoke with her in South Carolina.
The person that you went there to arrest and then interview, is she here in the courtroom?
She is.
Will you identify her, please, by pointing to where she's sitting, describing what she's wearing?
She's sitting at that table wearing a red shirt.
Between the two defense attorneys?
Correct.
All right, at this time, I'd ask that the record reflects he's identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
Mr. Grusing, was it also consistent that this defendant would mislead the investigation?
Yes, that's correct.
Give us what you mean by that.
Well, in her conversations with Al, she was pretending to be in Colorado Springs when we knew she was in South Carolina. Her stories changed, and it really affected the law enforcement response for her to say Gannon walked away to a friend's house versus being abducted or something that would cause a greater and more intense law enforcement response initially. And then, as I'm sure the jury's aware, the stories kept changing.
How does that dynamic, where the last person to see an 11-year-old child alive is giving these sometimes very wildly divergent statements as to what happened, how does that affect the investigation?
Well, it makes it difficult, but someone like Letecia can't help but giving out facts in the case while she's making up these stories. The stories are to avoid punishment for her possibly being responsible for what happened and being found guilty. And in my experience, that is what, both in my experience as an interviewer with the FBI and what I learned from working with the behavior analysis unit, that's what we as human beings do, is we fabricate and we misdirect to avoid punishment.
Was it consistent in this case that different times during these recorded phone calls that she would try to shift blame to other people?
Yes,
Did that include Al Stauch?
it did.
Did it include Landon Hyatt, Gannon's mother?
It did.
Did it include Landon's ex-husband, Mike?
Yes.
Were there other people that she would try to shift blame to that were known entities, known people that were real?
Yes.
I want to jump into now, I'm sure everybody's very excited about this, but some more of these recorded phone calls. We've previously had admitted and published a number of these phone calls through prior witnesses. But before we jump into that, how were you involved in this specific process of preparing Mr. Stauch for these calls?
So I would meet with Al along with our team in the morning early before we knew the phone calls would happen. First of all, to check on how he's doing, see if he got any texts through the night, and then to prepare him mentally for what would be a very difficult day of getting news stories of what happened to Gannon. And to watch him was difficult on us as investigators because Letecia was describing a lot of trauma happening to Gannon through this. It's forms of blood gushing and injuries to face and knees, and it just would keep coming, and it was difficult for him to take that in as Gannon's father, but he maintained a very even keel, and I think we were able to help him do that. It was very difficult for him not to accuse Letecia, but Al was also able to refrain from doing that as well.
Would you see physical reactions in Mr. Stauch as these descriptions are coming out?
Yes.
Was it important while you're doing this with Mr. Stauch to protect the viability of the investigation, meaning instructing him that he couldn't talk to people outside the investigation about these calls?
Yes, he knew that, and as far as I know, he adhered to that.
Okay. So I want to jump into People's Exhibit. Hold on just a second.
Before he goes into a call, I think it's going to be really interesting to hear his interview with Letecia, knowing that he was studying her patterns, her pathways to violence. And he told us there, like, yes, does she shift the blame? Yeah, she shifts the blame onto other people, real and imaginary. Hey, Lisa Huben. And that he helped Al prepare, but I'm going to be very interested in the questions he asks and like what is her pathway to violence, and if he can, what can he elicit from her? Is he going to find out what was the catalyst for her that made her put this into action instead of just a thought, a goofy thought, and then just stopping? So, yeah, of course, everyone else is to blame, and exactly, and nobody cares about her, and it's not fair, all of that, because her stories change like crazy. But I am really looking forward to that. I wish it was they were going to do it tomorrow, because I'd really like to see that. But there is a video that's produced by Department of Homeland Security, and it's available in the just-in-time disaster training library, and I can put a link to it. And it says the video, which features behavioral psychologist Dr. Jean Dessinger and others, reviews the 6 steps that comprise the pathway to violence. It begins with Ed Davis, former commissioner of the Boston Police Department, discussing the Boston Marathon bombing investigation. Had local religious leaders and the community reached out to public safety officials about changes in perpetrator Tamerlan Sarnav's behavior, it may have changed the course of the event, says Davis. The pathway to violence is generally comprised of these steps. Grievances. So somebody does something to someone. 2, ideation, an idea you're getting, what you're going to do about it. 3, research and planning, premeditation, right? 4, pre-attack preparation, more premeditation. Probing and breaching. And like he said, once you move past the breaching, then you commit that violence. So it's an 11-minute video to learn about the steps and signs, and I think it's good. I'd love to watch it here, but I guess I have to just watch it in a Zoom or something. I can share it, and you can bookmark it. We could talk about it after you watch it, like maybe tomorrow. So if you want to watch it, bookmark this. And that's by Department of Homeland Security. Is on that Pathways of Violence. Let's see what else we have here. As many individuals who are planning to engage in targeted violence display threatening or concerning behaviors that are observable to others, utilizing behavioral threat assessment and management, a proactive evidence-based method of investigation, analysis, and management that focuses on an individual's patterns, thinking, and behavior can determine whether and to what extent an individual may be moving towards an act of intended violence. Furthermore, BTAM can assist with the development of intervention techniques designed to move an individual away from conducting a potential attack. So yeah, if someone can utilize this and move someone away from it, that's great. And this is this is from, I believe this is Department of Homeland Security too. Yeah. So desperation, communication signaling, increase, depression or distress, changes in behavior concerning deviation from individual's prior routine, fixation, concentrating, preoccupation for a person, place, belief, or cause. Concerning or a preoccupation for a person, place, belief, or cause. So somebody that is fixated on someone. Now, I have to say, as someone who has more than one person that is fixated on me, but one person in particular who has been fixated on me for over 4 years, seeing something like that is a little problematic, but it's not normal to be fixated on a person, place, a belief, or a cause in that type of way. It's not a cause like, breast cancer awareness, you've been walking in these, walks for Relay for Life and all that. It's not a good fixation. It's the kind of fixation that we see and that somebody probably has some type of mental illness and could move towards violence. So that's, you can't take stuff like that lightly, a fixation like that. leakage, communications that indicate a potential for harm to self or others, interest in violence or weapons, concerning interest in violent topics, content or groups, violence, aggression, acts of aggression or violent behavior such as domestic violence, animal cruelty, harassment. See, this aggression, this harassment, this is the kind of stuff like that podcaster that was killed along with her husband in their house because there was some type of grievance that this person thought that they were slighted or they were blocked by this podcaster or they weren't getting that amount of attention. And that was the problem. The solution was to kill her and then kill himself, which he did. And he killed her husband. So, yeah. Attempts to gain access or proximity to a target. That's exactly what the guy did that killed that podcaster. He drove to her house and broke into her house. Direct threats made virtually or in person. I've had threats, and you know, it's funny. The flip-floppers, as I call them. Oh, those are threats. No, they're not threats. They are threats. They are threats. They are not threats. They are threats. When they were threats all along. And people's allegiance towards one way or the other would cause them to be so disingenuous to say that's not a threat when it didn't suit them, and when it did, change that whole way of thinking. Not what's right is right. No. And that's a dangerous thing. Activities, behaviors, or communications indicating preparation for end of life. So that's interesting there. And imminence, concern in the red area here. Concern in the yellow area, which would be desperation, despair, changes in behavior. Heightened concern with this fixation and this violence, this harassment. So what does that constitute? Someone making video after video after video after video after video after video about you? Is it someone making 3 videos about you? Is it someone making 5 videos a week about you? Well, interesting stuff in that way. So, yeah. But in Letecia's case, depression, despair, maybe that he was cheating on her, maybe that she felt he didn't care about her any more than a babysitter, or he treated her like a glorified babysitter, she might have thought. She felt despair that he was cheating on her maybe when he was going on these trainings, that he was going to divorce her, that he didn't find her attractive anymore. Could be that, right? Changes in behavior. What was she changing in her behavior? We don't know that much about her. We don't know if she always let her hair grow dirty like that, or this was something, you know what I mean? We don't know a lot about that with her. And then her fixation. Her fixation was, she had a fixation on Landon. Now remember, Landon was her friend. Landon was married to Al before they were on a softball team. And then what happens? She ends up hooking up with Al. So a lot of times if people do something like that, they probably have a fear of it happening to them. And they probably have a fear of him going back to his ex, okay, who just happened to be the mother of his children. And Landon had given him something that she had never given him, which is a biological son, a biological daughter. She had been faking a pregnancy right at the very end, so that fixation belief of that, you know, what it could be a belief. It's not just, you know, her belief that he's going to leave her, her belief that he's cheating on her. Just something there. Leakage, communication that indicates the potential for harm to self or others. You know, if somebody says, oh, you know, they always take in a super, oh, I'm going to kill him. I could just kill him. And then the person ends up dead. No, I don't know. I was speaking with Anne and she said she could have just killed him. Dun, 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 dun. Right. Okay. But if they are really having discussion about that kind of stuff. And then interest in violence or weapons concerning interest in violent topics, content, or groups. And then acts of aggression or violent behaviors such as domestic violence, animal cruelty, or harassment, attempts to gain access to the proximity or a target, direct threats made virtually or in person, activities, behaviors, or communications indicating preparation for end of life. These behaviors should be assessed with an individual's totality of circumstances, including life stressors, personal risk factors, and threat mitigators to identify if a person is moving along a pathway to violence. So I think this would be good to watch with that video, and maybe with some education on this, more things won't be tolerated and people can try to prevent them from going down this pathway to violence, to alert someone if someone seems to be headed down this pathway to violence. You know, she faked, she also faked a pregnancy, Christiane, at the very end when she said, Christiane, do you know where that fake twin pregnancy is? I've tried to find, I heard it in the, something about a sonogram, but when she was talking to Al, one of the first times that we heard on the phone, she said that she was telling Gannon, since he only had sisters, she was like 4 to 6 weeks pregnant. And she was telling him that it was a secret between them and it might be a brother and it was so exciting. But then she never mentioned it to Al past that point. She never continued down that road of that fake pregnancy, even to try to get him back. You think she abused Gannon the night of the candle spill on the couch and then was afraid he would tell and ruin her image at being better than the ex in the husband's eye? See, I think she was planning something big. I think she was planning to have a house fire. And she would save Harley and Lena and the dogs. But when she would go in to get Gannon, the flames, the smoke, everything was too much. She would let Gannon die in the fire and then act as if she was devastated that she couldn't save him, because she does mention that in these phone calls. And I think that is completely telling on what she was going to do. And for some reason, that fire did not go the way she wanted. And perhaps it was that she had knocked over the candle or whatever. Gannon was asleep. And then she got Lena out and Harley out and the dogs. But it didn't catch the way it was, and that somehow Gannon woke up and he wasn't just going to go to sleep and let her kill him again. So that was all just ruined. And then she has this wax and stuff on the couch. She has this stuff on the carpet. She's got these blankets, you know, with all this. And now, what is she going to do? So I think that's when she made that video. And maybe she told him, look what you did. You know, I had a candle here. And in your sleep, you knocked it over. And look what you did. You could have burned a whole house down. you know? So, you thought you had to have house fire to cover the abuse. It throws me off that she gave him Tylenol. She was planning to kill him. But he had hydrocodone in his system. I think she tried to drug him so that he would not wake up in the fire. You know? That's what I think she tried to do, to drug him. Yeah, the candle, right, would not have cut it. And then I think her next plan was to leave him home and start a fire. But being that she looked up when she could leave a child home legally in Colorado and it said 12 years old and Gannon was 11, she must have thought that, well, wait a minute, if I do that and then create this fire and Gannon dies in this fire, then I can be liable because I wasn't supposed to leave him home alone. And I think she thought better of that and somehow thought she was going to have... we weren't given a level. It was the medical examiner said they had to test the liver tissue. And so we'll have to see if there's more when we get the discovery. And when she took him out, she left her phone. She took Gannon's phone. But then when she went to Petco, she left Gannon's phone in Petco. So she claims that she had her Apple Watch on, and these people are so stupid because the Apple Watch can track. But we don't know that her Apple Watch wasn't dead. Do we? I mean, where is the information, any information from the Apple Watch that we've ever seen? But what was she planning to do, you know, with Gannon out there? And what stopped her from doing what she planned to do? Because then when she came home, she was like in a rage kill. Yeah, I don't know, Deborah. I'm wondering if they're going to wait till after sentencing. I don't know. They usually will release it like once it's admitted, but they're not doing that in this case. So I just don't know, but I think because in these phone calls, which I think are the most informative that we've heard, she talks about that fire. What do I think about the cut out carpet square? Do I think she created a fire there to cover up blood evidence? No, I really don't think there was that much, like, that square of carpet was cut out before. So I don't know what she could have been doing. She could have been thinking like, oh crap, this house fire that I was going to start, I'm not able to start it now. She did say they stayed up all night. So I think with her doing the search, finding out she could not leave him home, he wasn't 12 years old, she had to take him with her. Now she's got this thing on the carpet that she thought was going to be burned up. So I better replace this carpet. We rent this house. This lady's going to be pissed. And I think she just tried to put that back together. And it might have even been for show for Gannon. Remember in the video she was saying, I'll fix it. We have to fix it. It could have been all just for Gannon's benefit. Like she was really worried. And what are we going to do? What are we going to do about the couch? We'll have to sell the couch. And how are we going to get the money for this lady? And I don't know where his switch went. I was wondering if they were going to find that switch in like the suitcases that were in that van, the minivan where she had the bloody blanket in that pink suitcase. And then did she sell that switch somewhere? Because she wanted to know if you can be tracked with a switch. So I'm wondering if she just got rid of that switch or she sold it for money, or I don't know where that switch went, you know, that they found blood evidence in the cutout. Yeah, he said my burn, so I think there could have been a burn when she turned the candle over or something. Like, it might not have been very bad, but it burn, you know, a burn hurts. Even a little burn, even when you burn yourself on the stove or something. I mean, those blisters, they hurt, and especially as a little kid. And maybe he was just so scared because he thought he would almost have died in the fire. We don't know what she said to him, okay? She had already had... No, they never found the switch, Marianne. They never found it. Never found it. But, you know, she could have said, Gannon, you know, look what you did. You were, you know, don't tell me, you must have done something. You knocked this candle down and it caught this blanket on fire, and I had to come down here and put it out, because by that time it didn't catch on fire. If she did really have Lena out and Harley and the dogs, and then he woke up somehow because, I don't know, his hand got burned, his arm got burned, whatever it was, and he wasn't going to go back to sleep. And then she wanted him to make him think that he did that. And he could have set the house on fire and you could have killed us all. And so I think that's why he was like so upset. And then he didn't know what the burns were. Like, oh my gosh, the burns, you know. Maybe intended the candle. No, it was actually on the couch that it happened, Nicole. And the her wanting to push those beds together and saying that she pushed those beds together, that was to cover up something. So, oh, yeah. Oh, the other thing, wait a minute, that we learned in these calls today. It's the first time we hear about a busted lip, busted nose, right? We hear about that and that he didn't really want to go to school. Well, now she claims that he got the busted lip and the busted nose. It's all making sense with these last, and I'm really interested to hear the last call, because these calls, though how annoying you might say they are, and I do want to listen to them again. If you don't want to listen to them with me, I'll listen to them at another time. I'll take a poll if you want to, but I think if you listen to them, she gives us a lot of real information in here, because in the earlier calls, she kept saying to Al something like, I didn't know, and if I shouldn't have jumped on them, she means the blankets, when they were on Gannon, then I'm sorry. But I just did what I thought I was supposed to do. And I was thinking, like, well, what would she be sorry for if she supposedly put this fire out, right? But you see what? It says that she busted his lip, busted his nose. And that's where that blood could be from. That bit of blood that was on the carpet. So maybe she was pouncing on him hard. And maybe she was pounding with her fist to say she was getting the flames out, but she was pounding on his face. So we did hear about that today. But I'll take a poll. If you don't want to listen to some of these phone calls, I'm more interested into the latter ones, because Yes, this came out today, Marianne. She was so evasive in the beginning, not saying about the busted nose and busted lip, but then it just didn't make sense. In the early call, she was like, oh, and if I did the wrong thing, I apologize. And I'm like, why would she apologize if she says she put out who's going to care the way she put out a fire? Did she put it out? Okay. But it was because she caused Gannon harm, and she didn't do it because she was trying to put out a fire. She wanted to hurt him and act like if he woke up, I guess maybe at that time she was angry or whatever. Who knows if there was even any fire on the thing, right? And she's jumping on it and she's pounding him in the face. Oh, I was just trying to get the flames out. Yeah, she could have been trying to knock him unconscious too. Like, oh my gosh, because maybe he woke up, it didn't catch. She was going to go get an accelerant or something. And yet now he's awake. What do I do now? Now I'm not going to get him to go back to sleep. I can't, what's going to happen? So, yeah, absolutely. So let's listen to some of these, a little bit of these calls. We won't listen to everything, but I think.
Direction, is this an example of that misdirection as applied to the investigation by the defendant herself?
Yes.
Next, want to jump into People's Exhibit number 55, another one of these recorded phone calls admitted previously under Mr. Stauch's testimony. This is 18 minutes and 42 seconds long, and it's occurred on February 16, 2020 at 2:34 p.m.
And you said 18 minutes?
Yes, sir. A little over 18 minutes.
Mr. Gruesing, you can go ahead and step down and sit in the back.
Now let's just listen to this. And then we'll contrast it with Woods.
Are you still playing it from there, Mr. Allen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is about that other. Been wrong. Yeah.
What?
Do what?
What?
I'm just trying to help get to the bottom of this, teacher, like you said in the message. Like, I'm just trying to do this for Gannon.
Yeah, but this whole time, for 3 weeks, you've been just like all these people. So you know what? I'm gonna be just like you. Full of speculation, full of lies, full of craziness. I'm gonna be fucking crazy as hell, just like them.
So you're starting that now?
That's the truth, huh?
You're starting that now is what you're telling me?
No, I'm telling you, no, that's just what, I mean, that's how you treated me. So
No,
you think
no.
that I've been sitting there playing into your game and all the listening and people. You think I'm stupid?
No, I'm just trying to like I said, I'm just trying to get to the truth and get to Gannon. I mean, you no, you think I'm stupid.
Then you wanted to get to Gannon?
Yeah.
And you think I'm not gonna fucking be a fucking crazy ass? You think that for a second? You think I'm not smart enough now? Oh, I've invested a lot because, oh my God, I worked at the ground you walked on.
Okay, but that being said, why would you give me Nicole's number?
I don't
Okay.
work at that
No,
anymore.
well, that's fine. That's fine. We're miles away from that. So, but for
Miles away from what?
miles away from the truth, first of all, because this Quincy guy's been gone for 2 years. The news said that, not me. Okay. All right. The news said that. They also got it confirmation from the sheriff. Okay. That this guy was not involved, period. It's misinformation.
If that's what they say, then they have the answer.
Okay. Well, but between me and you, why can't we just move past Quincy? Okay.
Because you're not trying to move forward in your life with your wife and your family. And as long as you treat me like that, act like that, I'm going to be the same damn way.
Okay. But hear me out. Hear me out.
You treat me like shit.
Okay. All right.
Do you think I'm supposed to come be your hero?
Okay, listen, I am trying to get past that point because Quincy being involved in this?
You don't have anywhere to live and no food? And you still been lay up in a hotel?
Yeah, but you had me believing Quincy until the news in the El Paso told me it wasn't true.
But no, you don't care.
I do.
Just tell me what
I no.
don't fucking matter to you.
Okay, so you've been telling me stories this whole time. Is that what you're telling me? You've been lying to me intentionally.
Why not?
So
Because
but you got to know. I think you're freaking out because you know. I don't even have to tell you. You know that Quincy being not legit anymore is not good for you, and it's not good for Gannon.
Okay.
All right, so listen. I want to start over with this. Okay, I want to start over, and no, I got you. I got you, and I want you.
If you had me, you would have abandoned me for 2 weeks.
Okay, but listen, when I started talking to you on the phone, the most honest you've been to me in this whole freaking process is when you asked me and you showed me that you cared and love for me. You asked me, you said, Albert, do you love me? And then I answered and I said, yes, right?
No, Albert, you don't.
No, listen to me. I said yes, okay?
Get on the phone with and tell them all how many. Tell them.
I said yes, and what you said, okay? What you said, if this was an accident, will you stand by me? And I said yes. I said I will stand by you if this was an accident.
Many people did you start texting and telling them that I'm lying? I just want to know because this is where I know this is why I know you never were trusted through the whole 2 weeks.
Were trusted?
How many people did you?
I didn't get on the phone and text nobody about this. And I know you're surprised by that. You can be, okay?
Whatever. You ain't told a soul about no names or nothing.
The only person I've been talking about is the fact that Quincy Brown, with this, whatever Nicole Fiaro told me, okay, that the El Paso County Sheriff told you. You said, call. I did exactly what you said. I trusted in you. I got in touch with them. See, you don't even want to talk about Gannon. You're not talking about Gannon. You're talking about you, okay?
No, this is not about
It is. It is about you. That's not true, Gannon. Because you're somewhere. You're healthy and talking to me. Gannon's not. That's why it's about Gannon. Okay. All right. Like I said, I want your honesty. The most honest you've been.
Even understand any of it. If I try to tell you that your baby mama has something to do with it, you're not gonna believe me. But she did.
Okay, then let's prove it. Give me the proof.
So you fucking laugh at hotels with her?
I'm not. I haven't once. I've told you that. I don't care. You could accuse me all you want to, like you've done for 5 years. Okay. I don't have nothing to hide.
You won't even tell me anything. You haven't had the decency to tell me anything about nothing. You started kicking me out of the curb. But you talk to her every day, though, didn't you?
Not really, actually.
No, because she's your children's mother, right?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And you have information that you're not telling me, and you have the chance to show that you're better than her. Okay? If she's involved in this, if she's involved in it, let's take her down. If she's
You go make a statement that you are standing by your watches and then see what you did.
okay, if you sit right here, do that. Okay? If you sit right
I'm a liar.
No, absolutely not. I'm not putting you down at all. You told me the closest we've been to the truth, I'm gonna keep saying this, is when you asked me if I loved you, and I said yes, okay? And then you said, if this was an accident, and then you said, stand by me. Okay, so I think that's the closest to the truth we've been, that something happened, it was an accident, and that's the most.
Something happened, it was an accident. Where the hell did I put Gannon? But you think what the rest of the people think? You think it was an accident that I heard and then did away with it?
Listen, hold on. And I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I'm not worried about Gannon right now, okay? I'm worried about you. I'm worried about standing by you. The only way you're going to...
Don't tell me what I want.
I'm not telling you what you want to hear. The only way to move forward with this is that it was an accident, which I think is the truth, and that you freaked out. And I told you that over and over and over again. Accidents happen. People freak out with accidents. They will understand that. Okay, but the fact that you sent me on a 3-day chase of Quincy Brown, which is misinformation and not true, okay, that's not good for you. What is good for you is that we can make it through this going down the road of an accident. No, I'm telling you the truth.
10% of people don't make it through. If I had to save Gannon's life in a fire, you'd still be treating me the same way.
You saved his life from a fire?
If I didn't, God knows, because I couldn't figure out where the hell the fire was coming from. And I went downstairs, you haven't dumped on you for a second. If that house was on fire, Gannon would not be alive. Oh, but
No, I said you that from day one, that you did what you had to do there. But how did you save his life? Okay, what was it from? The accident of the candle that Gannon did, or what? That's what.
out, had I just laid back down, because I'd already cut the darn alarm off.
Yeah, but you're a good person. You're a good mom. That's what good people do. Okay, so that's never been in question. Okay, the fact that you're a good person, that just comes natural. Okay, the fact that what happened subsequent to that, what happened after that, was just further, like, made the accident 10 times. It compounded it 10 times, 10 times, 10 times, and now it's got way out of hand. But that's the only way we get out of this, is to figure out what the accident was and go from there. I can't hear you.
I'm asking somebody because we don't have any food.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I see. All right, thanks. That's really great, right? Albert,
Yeah, I'm here.
I told you every single day. I woke up every single day and told you. I want to tell you that I'm this bad person and something bad. I want to tell you all that. I do.
Why?
Because that is what you think. You have trashed me to everyone.
I have not. Prove it. I have not trashed you to no one. I have not put anything out in the public intentionally.
She said she wants to, every day she thinks that she wants to call him up and tell him she's a bad person. And he says, why do you want to do that? And she says, because you've trashed me. That's what you want. You've trashed me to all these people. She was into these Facebook groups, these Find Gannon, all of these Facebook groups. She started to get involved in them. She started reading everything in them. And in these Facebook groups, people were all for Landon. People talked about Landon and Al getting back together. People that didn't even have proof. I just like, oh, wouldn't it be great if they found their way? And then Gannon was found, in the beginning, and they threw Tecia to the curb. But then when suspicion came on her that she might have done something really bad to Gannon, it really started to heat up. And even her mother and I believe her aunt and one of her sisters was going on there and trying to defend the things we're doing. We've shown the screenshots of that. We went through that, right? So she is fixated on what the internet thinks of her. She is fixated that they don't like her and they like Landon. She's fixated that they don't want Al with her. She is believing that he is messaging people and trashing her. So, this is constant. You're getting back with her. You were in her room. You were doing this. Oh, you love her. What were you doing there? Oh, yeah, that's right. You weren't with me. You let me go. You abandoned me. You took me off the insurance. You took Harley's car. You stopped paying her car payments. All of that stuff. And she was obsessed. He told her many times in the first few phone calls, stop, don't go on social media. Who cares what they think about you? They're idiots. Who cares? But she did. She did.
So we could get to the bottom of this, me and you, okay? And here we are, trying to get to the bottom of it.
I'm sure you had your family thinking I'm a murderer.
My family's not even here. I'm all alone again. I told you that. My family just wants to find their nephew, their grandson, their cousin, okay? That's what they want. How about Lena, their brother? Lena's losing her mind because her brother's missing.
You think I don't want to see Lena?
I didn't say see Lena. I said Lena's freaking out because Gannon's missing. What are you talking about?
No, I said I do want to see Lena.
I didn't say you didn't want to see her. Why? Where did that come from? I said my mom's worried about her grandson. Okay, my siblings are worried about their nephew. Their children are worried about their cousin. And then I said Lena's worried about her brother, and you said you want to see Lena. Well, everybody wants to see Gannon. Everybody.
I know that, Albert.
Okay, everybody wants to see Gannon. And if it was, and I'm trying to get you to understand that if this was just an accident and it got out of hand and you panicked or whoever panicked, okay, that's something we can make it through. Okay, you can make it through that.
You're not going to believe that because you're going to think.
No, fine. Gannon panicked. No, I'm not blaming you. I said it was an accident. Accidents really have no one to blame. If an accident happens.
Okay, I was trying to be a cool parent. I already told you that. We pushed the bed together. You were talking about having a sleepover.
Okay.
We were just acting crazy. Okay? I already told you that Annabelle busted his lip in his nose. That's where the blood came from. Don't you think there's some crime scene to kick everybody out of the home? When that's not even. Nothing happened to Gannon. Deadly, hurtful, anything like that in the home. I'm sick of it. I'm supposed to help people when people won't even move past that. I told you this morning. That was the accident I was talking about.
Okay, so there was an accident with Gannon. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. So what next? That's what I. Okay. Okay.
Feeling horrible. He's absolutely feeling horrible because we had a fire. We had to run out. He's thinking, and whatever you're going to say, you're going to be like, oh, whatever. You're not going to let me just tell you and be genuine unless you just feel like, baby, how can you, even deal with this because I'm dealing with it hard and comfort each other. You're not going to do that. You think it's not killing me? Do you think that for a second?
No, I know it's killing you. I know how you are when, because you're a good mom and you're a good person, and when things don't go perfect, I know how you are.
Albert, do you love me?
Yes.
Okay. What is the truth? Are you going? Don't say I'm going to make you no promises. Are you going to make this right? Stand by your wife?
I told you that the other day. I will stand by you. Yes.
And I said, are you going to make this right?
Yeah, we're going to make this whole situation right.
I'm talking about with our family.
Absolutely. That's what this is all about, is our family. I said that from day one and every day. This is about our family.
Okay? He's just shocked because all he kept thinking about is how he was supposed, I don't know what, somebody was supposed to be sending him from online on Amazon. I don't know what promises people had made. I don't know about any kind of promises that people made about coming in March. I don't know about any of that. I just know he was upset thinking, A, he was not going to get any of those promises. He was upset about the whole camera thing, and he kept saying to me that he messes up everything. Saying that to me. And I kept saying that he did. That's why he didn't let Gannon go to school. He felt horrible with himself. He felt really bad with himself. He was very upset. So we go on our same trip. We went on everything about the bike. We did all that. All that's true. We did all that. We go to Petco. We did all that.
Okay.
Then we leave. We're going to go meet somebody about the fire. Then end up and I realized that I did think somebody was following us. That's the God's honest truth. Because when I got on, they got a turn. I got a turn, they got. Swear to God, I thought somebody was following us all the time. Anyway, so I realized that I didn't have phone for directions, so I turned around. Come back up to Petco. Go back into Petco again. Gannon's still playing the glitch. He's still whatever. So back to stuff for a second. If you think for a second on some video, he might have been whatever, he had busted his nose and his mouth. Did you think I want to send him to school like that? Honestly. Did you?
I mean, obviously not.
Okay. I did. And then I was sitting there feeling so sorry. He didn't have that burn. It was therapy. They were a little bit bumpy, but I was able to jump on it and put it out. So then we go back to Petco, and I said, Gannon, hey, we are gonna have to hurry up, get back, and get Lena. Albert, when I got back, Gannon was not in the car at all. I didn't even know that he wasn't in the car.
From when you left Petco?
Still horrible, because I feel like one of those people that didn't realize that they left their baby in the car. Do you realize how freaked out? People want to know why I drove around everywhere, why my GPS went everywhere for days, because I tried looking. Now I have to sit back and have people fuss at me and say, first of all, where's Gannon? I don't know. I told you this from the beginning. I don't know. I don't. You think it's not driving me insane? I don't know. You think I have to feel like, oh, whatever you have to I said something about the music? I didn't even pay attention. He's always just so quiet. I wasn't even thinking. And then I go into Petco, thinking surely he's gonna be home. Surely, because he was talking about a friend with a car, building out a car. I said, surely, maybe he thinks he feels horrible.
Yeah.
He's gonna call this person or do whatever, and he'll be back home. That's it. And you think I don't have to live with this every single day? Hello?
I'm here. I'm just listening.
See? Now you're just listening. I give you what you want, and you're just listening.
Well, what do you want me to do? You want me to pick holes in it? I promised you I'd listen. You asked me to listen. I promised it.
Oh, so now there's holes to pick in it?
That's not. Yeah, I mean, I can if you want me to. Do you want to do that?
There's no holes to pick in it.
All right, listen. I'm done. Okay, because we started off talking about an accident. Okay, now basically we got another Quincy Brown. So what's this guy's name? Okay, when you come up with that, when you come up with the next person's name, you call me back. All right.
Mr. Grusing, if you would resume your seat in the witness stand, I remind you, sir, that you're still under oath.
One of the benefits of doing it this way is you get your steps in while you're still testifying.
Appreciate that.
The whispering that we hear in the background, is that you and Al just conversing and you giving him tips on how to go forward?
Yeah, one of us on the team.
Okay. The accident suggestion, do you remember that at the very beginning of this where Al suggests, was there some accident kind of thing?
I do.
What was the strategy behind suggesting an accident?
By now, we as a team had been able to shoot down the Eduardo story, and now the Quincy Brown story, because we had put him in Mexico. Letecia knew that that story wasn't going to be able to move forward with Al, and as you can see, she wants a relationship with Al, and we decided to do both the accident scenario and remind Letecia that she's a good person and a good parent, and see if she would give us something else as far as a clue we could move forward with.
Is that essentially building an escape hatch for her to take that gives her some potentially some less exposure.
Yes,
Did she take advantage of that?
she did.
Okay, in what way?
She described again more injuries to Gannon about, I believe it was busting a lip. And I couldn't hear if it was a nose or something else that happened in the house. And then that's why she would call him out of school. She also continued to blame him, though, as a victim, of saying he was scared, he wasn't acting rightly, and a lot of those sorts of responsibilities landed on Gannon. And then she calls him out of school, but now she has him being abducted, it sounds like, from the Petco, and now we don't have a new suspect to chase.
Is this a new development in her evolution of stories that now an abduction, kidnapping has occurred outside of the home?
Yes.
At Petco, I should say.
Yes,
Because there had been the previous one of Quincy Brown up northern El Paso County, correct?
correct.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to jump into the next phone call previously admitted during
Okay, so yeah, so she got, when they told her that Quincy Brown, they'd gone to his family, he was in Mexico, first she started saying that, well, a person can go back and forth between Mexico. She wasn't going to give it up right away, right? That Quincy Brown crap that she was talking about. And finally, when Al said, look, he's not going to go back and forth from Mexico because he has an arrest warrant and he's not going to be able to cross the border. So just stop it, okay, with Quincy Brown. So now she's moving to, he was abducted. She didn't know. She feels bad. Don't you think I'm going to have to live with this every day? And then says that she starts bringing this bath salt thing, this kid with the older brother that has a car. So maybe she didn't report him missing, thought maybe he was just feeling sorry for himself or whatever, and kind of insinuating that this kid with his brother with a car picked him up and maybe he'd be back. Yeah, okay. Okay, Letecia. It's always something. It's always something. She can't get to the truth. She can't even say, she's not ready at this point to say, it was an accident. I was getting something. He slipped, he fell. I don't know. Like, she's not at that point yet to go there.
Al Stauch's testimony. This is People's Exhibit 56. It's from February 17th, 2020 at 11:49 p.m. And it's 43 minutes long, so that may get us to a good break point after that one's done.
That will. And,
Okay, Pudding.
Mr. Brenser, you can go ahead and step down.
Playing now People's 56.
Doctor and all that other junk.
Call her.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. One second. Well,
Hello. What's up?
talking about it.
Huh?
The death got back to the doctor.
What for?
Really?
Yeah.
I've already told you this, but I didn't have a period and I'm 5 weeks pregnant.
Okay. How'd it go? How'd it go?
Did she just say she's 5 weeks pregnant?
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I've already told you this, but I don't have a period, and I'm 5 weeks pregnant.
Oh my gosh. See, I'm glad I heard
How'd
that
it go?
because hold on. I was wondering how she just wrote this pregnancy out. She's so hard to hear because her connection or she said, I'm 5 weeks pregnant. That doesn't even make sense because it is February 16th, 15th, 17th, somewhere in there. She said she was around 4 weeks when Gannon went missing. She should be 6, 7 weeks now, but all right, let's whatever. I missed it.
But who's counting?
Yeah.
Was that you messaging me this morning?
Well, he doesn't ask her. I mean,
Was that you messaging me this
how
morning?
come he doesn't ask her?
That's not that. Doctor.
What for?
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I've already told you this, but I don't have a period, and I'm 5 weeks pregnant.
Okay. How'd it go? Was that you messaging me this morning from another number?
I don't know, just blame me for whatever.
No, I'm just asking. That way I know for sure. Huh?
I don't know, Albert. I don't know. Just blame me for whatever.
No, it's not. No, we're not playing the blame game. I just wanted to know because there may have been some details that I wanted to talk about because it was obviously relevant to what the things we've been talking about over the past couple of days. So,
Yeah, you would have thought that you would have just called me to anything nice.
Tisha, you know what my mind's on. My mind's on Gannon, okay? And I told you I'd stand by you if we got to the truth. So.
You guys are good. I
that's what
couldn't
my
make out
mind's
what
on.
she said about the
My mind's on
period.
the truth about Gannon.
I've given you the truth. I've given it to you, and then I've given you 15 different things that were not true, just to prove a point. Call it what you want. Call it creepy or stories or lying or whatever you want to call it. And go text people and tell them how horrible a person I am, and I'm just lying. And you're backing me in a corner. I hope that when you say to people, I hope you know they're posting stuff online.
When I say something to who?
Anybody. Unless it's probably like legitimately people that you are blood related to, if they send it to anybody or anyone says anything, send it to their best friends in kindergarten, they're posting it online.
Well, I mean, I haven't said nothing to nobody, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm just telling you, that's me. You send some people calling you or something. That's probably how they got your number. Your number's online everywhere.
I know it is, and I mean,
People posting messages that you supposedly sent people. Just saying, I mean, you know, whoever you be talking junk to or whatever to, people are putting it out there.
well, good for them. I mean,
I'm just telling you that to let you know, like, not to talk bad to you or talk about you or nothing. I'm just telling you that. Trust me, Brett and I was getting accused of being with Mike, messages made up on with being with Mike, all kinds of stuff, like anything. You could know that. I'm just telling you that. These people are nut jobs.
yeah. So back to what you said a second ago. You told me that you made up all these stories to prove a point. Why would you tell me all these different stories? That doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, what point is there to prove other than the point of finding Gannon?
Because I cannot give you, no matter what I give you of how Gannon is missing, I can't give you the answer of how to get him.
Why? But you told me.
If you guys are there to question me, check all Jose Baez law firm.
I just want to know why you told me all these different stories, but you're telling me that you've given me the truth so many times, but then you say it's a bunch of different stories, so I don't understand what you're trying to say. I mean, the only thing okay, go ahead.
I just want to show you this related to this situation, and this is back February 9th of 2020. Remember, she was engaged in these groups, and someone said, Letecia Stauch, wow. And you are supposed to be educated? I actually thought you could be innocent. But if that stuff really came from you, you are just digging yourself in a deeper hole, so please keep it up. I saw the video of you when Gannon messed up the carpet, but instead of comforting what sounds like a scared child, like a good parent would do, you stress him out, tell him you guys have to sell something. You are a crazy narcissist, and as bad as you want to make the biomom sound, it just makes you look worse. Oh, hold on a minute. And then, let's see the next one. Is T replying to her saying, Ashley Hip, yes, sure do, because he was worried his Switch was getting sold. So who cares what method? You don't understand that education has nothing to do with something when someone is scared. And heck yes, if you do something, then you have to help fix it. Child or no child. I could have set the Switch, but I said, I guess she means I could have said the Switch, but I said something valuable to me, showing how much I wasn't going to tell on him. Then T says, Ashley Hip, yes, idiot. Kids accidentally leave you, dumb ass. They make bad choices. Get the F out of here. And then someone says, who are you and why are you on my page? And then T says, Ashley Hip, exactly, you dumb keyboard warrior. Help out instead of type. You are a piece of crap, too. I just want to look at one other thing before we... Okay, I thought that was something, there was something else. Let me just see if there's anything else relating to... Okay. All right, let's go back to that thing. I just wanted to bring that up.
Any more stories or foods, I'm not doing that. Because it does nothing for me but it makes me unhealthy, make me stressed, and I'm not in the position because I'm not eating to be like this. I'm just not. And if you guys think that you're going to get me to kill myself or this is something I did too, you guys are all wrong. So the point on that is, if you're going to call me, only not to stand by my side, not to make any kind of statement to say that these people need to stop threatening your life. If you're not going to call me to do any of that in your family, then Of course, I'm just going to sit there and play into your game. If you're treating me like crap, which you've done, why would I treat you with any?
I didn't hear what you said. You broke up. Why would you treat me with what?
I said, if you're not treating me with compassion, kindness, with any kind of support, with any kind of help, you're not treating me with any of that. Why do I have to owe you any kind of the same respect back?
But I've offered that. I've offered that to you. Okay, I've offered that to you. I said I'll stand by you once we get the truth. Okay, that's what I've said the whole time, and I've told you that you can survive and you can get through this. Okay, it all comes down to the truth. That's the important point.
To get through something, for y'all to think that I'm gonna make up something and get charged with something that I didn't even do. I'm not doing that. If you just think that.
I mean, I
You call me with things like, oh, you're a teacher. You never even said a kind word to me about anything like that. Do you think that I didn't think that was all a played up thing?
you can listen. You're welcome to think whatever you want. I mean, you said you've loved me numerous times over the past couple of days, and I've replied with the same thing. Yes.
You called me to say that to me. You called me. I woke up in the morning and said, be kind to me. I love you. I miss nothing. Have you said anything to me?
I have, but the problem is what you're telling me is finding Gannon is conditional on what you want and what you need. That is what you're saying. The truth is conditional on that.
It's not. Do you not think if I knew for a second how to get Gannon, you would not be sitting there waiting on you like weeks ago?
Well, I don't know the truth on that because I know what you've said, that an accident happened and that you panicked, and when you panic and bad things and things get out of control or whatever you said, they go downhill.
You didn't accept the accident about jumping on the bed. You didn't accept it.
I accepted that there was an accident that happened. You're absolutely right. I accepted that.
The accident about jumping on the bed. This doesn't make sense, okay? If she's talking about jumping on the bed because of the fire, because she's lying, either she is just like all over the place. First, he was on the couch. He fell asleep on the couch. Then he was in the bed. So was he on the couch or the bed? Where was it? Later on, we hear her say that when she talks about this fire, suddenly it's 11 or 12 o'clock at night. How is that even possible when in stories before this, she said it was around 7 or 8 o'clock? By 11 or 12 o'clock, it doesn't make any sense. She's all wrong. And then she's talking about the next day, 11 or 12 o'clock. Well, then she already called the police at 6 something to report him as a runaway. She's all over the place. Now jumping on the bed.
An accident happened, and you panicked.
That's not what you see. That's not what you accepted. I told you the truth. You asked me about the bedroom, and I've already told you this.
But okay. Let's accept that accident happened, okay, for a moment. Okay, but you keep putting somebody else into the picture, okay, and that is absolutely bad for you. In the context of an accident or in context of anything, if somebody else comes into the picture and you keep going down that road, if I'm sitting here and poking holes in it, okay, which I don't want to do, but it just doesn't jive with me. What do you think law enforcement is going to do? Okay, because
I don't think about what law enforcement is going to do. Because Jose Baez is going to whistle this good. I'm not worried about that.
Did you see those lawyers? Did you see those lawyers? her lawyer, when she said, because Jose Baez is going to whip their arse, or said the one lawyer that, not the Will Ferrell elf lawyer, the other lawyer, the look on his face when that is said is priceless.
Anything wrong.
Right, because it was an accident. We've established that. So why would Jose Baez have to rip anybody apart if you were involved in an accident?
That is, I never told you that anything was an accident other than what you asked me about the work. And I'm going to keep telling you that 14 times, and then you're going to get mad. You don't need to scream at me, hang up the phone. It's not a good enough answer.
But you did tell me there was an accident. You told me there
Jose
was a fire,
Baez, she's got
there
the-
was a candle spill. You told me he accidentally stepped on a
Rocking elf lawyer and the guy that wants to get out of there.
Knew all of it.
Right, but those are the accidents that you said happened, that he got injured somehow from these accidents. That's what you said. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
You about him. I've already told you about this. He had a hard time being basically a boy, barefooted.
Yeah, I know it. And he
Barefooted.
freaked out. I got it. He freaked out after the accidents happened. There was a couple different accidents that happened. He freaked out, got overwhelmed. Then what happened?
He's never had that many accidents.
I agree. Okay, I agree. That's a lot in like 12 hours. That's a lot of accidents in 12 hours on one little field. Okay, whatever. I'm just using that as a random guess. Okay, I don't know the exact time frame.
Me explaining anything to you, if you want more statements or whatever, they know I've listened to you who I have as my representation in a pre-investigation. I listen that to you. I'm not going to sit here and walk down 15 more phones in with you for you to hang on, yell, hate, scream, and
Well, I'm your husband. I'm not the sheriff. I'm your husband, and it's my son that's missing.
you've done.
Yes, he does. A father does. A father does. Okay. And once again, I'm trying to do this because I'm feeling the guilt of not being there to help him through all these accidents. Okay? So I'm trying to do what I can outside of the law enforcement, okay, because you don't freaking trust them anyways, and they've screwed a lot of this up. So I'm sitting here trying. Do I trust him? Not based on what I've seen. So that's why I'm going straight to you, straight to the last person that saw him.
I'm not. If I would be the last that saw him, then I would be the person that has him.
So who was the last person that saw him? This is
No,
okay.
I don't know.
So you don't know who it was.
I don't know anything. I just told you, I don't know anything because I've been emotionally beat down.
By who?
Emotionally beat down.
By who?
What?
By who's emotionally beat you down?
Who emotionally beat her down?
Hello?
Hello?
Understand that as a parent, you know that 100% of your mind is focused on someone that God gave you the ability to bring into this world. Okay? If anybody knows that, I understand that.
But you're contradicting yourself because you told me.
Okay.
No.
I'm not even
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I couldn't even finish the second part sentence without you attacking me.
Okay.
And I also know that you should be, under no circumstances, be one with me. It's not what God intended you to be. Be one. And that's what, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And that's, I haven't even spoke to my husband in weeks. Been there to comfort him, even there to comfort me in this situation no. I know that God says we put him first. Then we put everything that moves.
Now she's giving God lessons.
Happened, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I've given you information. I've given you a set of information, actual truth, and it's still not good to us. You know what that is? Because I'm not doing it. You don't care. You're not going to be as a parent and accept. Hey, no, I'm kidding. I'm going to make choices that we don't like. You're not going to accept that. But I will not going to be a parent. I'm trying to tell you to accept.
Oh boy.
Because other than me trying to get from the authority to keep someone else being bad, to protect the child, then I'm still the bad person. You should have my back no matter what. You should have my back to the point where we together were talking to these people and demanding a better answer. But you have not.
Demanding a better answer.
I don't people every day. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where you're at. If my son was there, you may not even be here. I mean, it's online to do Texas.
She's accusing him of being in Texas, maybe. Meanwhile, she's telling him she's in Colorado and she's in South Carolina. But she's accusing him of, I don't even think you're where you're supposed to be. You might be in Texas, of course, with Landon, right? Very funny.
I don't even. I go the late to say, you are my teammate. Then you're going to go up to me. I'm not favoring on any of it. I'm not. This is the you said. Tell me exactly where candidates right now. That's going to vote for my family again. This is the two ways to put on. I don't know what these are. This ain't going to be on the phone. You have been married to me long enough to know that it maybe cut or whatever, maybe not the best in that aspect.
Okay, I think we'll end it there for tonight and just maybe tomorrow if we look at that video that I put in there. Yeah, they're saying, I don't know, how it's going to be 3 to 5 weeks more. How? Oh my gosh. I'm hoping they decide that they have enough. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I think I'm going to go to sleep. Exhausted. Thanks for coming in tonight. Tomorrow, again, there's no trial. Friday, the trial starts again. We will, we can revisit more of Letecia tomorrow, but you guys have some great insight and pudding. If you find that thing about the switch, let me know, because I must have missed it if they said that they found it, because I even went back into one of the groups and they were saying the same thing. Someone was saying, I thought they found it, and then other people were saying, wait a minute, I've been following the case for 3 years, and they said they've never found it. So that's all news to me. If see, now I'm so concerned about my hands now, because ever since she's doing that crap. Okay, I think oh, thanks for going live tonight. I'm still having a hard time following. we'll go over some more tomorrow, and maybe have some people call in tomorrow and talk about what they have heard and what they feel. Have a good night. I learned the same thing about the switch, that it was found. Okay, well then I guess, if you guys heard it all, then it must have been, but I'd like to go see that testimony because, as they said, for like 3 years we haven't, but thank you guys for coming in. I don't know. I'm exhausted now. But we'll see you guys tomorrow, I hope. And prayers for all that need them. God bless. And love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, you watch and then come on and discuss with us. All right. See you later, guys.